and ban graphic. It should come in right about now.
Lovely. Oh, excellent. Oh, fantastic. I didn't realize it was that easy. So, all the time we've been typing in chat, casters start the game. You've got a remote that... Well, right.
It's the host that
Nonetheless,
starts
we
the game,
are
apparently.
into the champion select, and yeah, I hope he uses that button a little bit more often. A couple of bans here that we're seeing out of the side of Nord, targeting away Envy carries champion pool here, Rude Dude.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get rid of the Yasuo. I feel like Ruddy have shown their prolificness with that pick already. Makes sense that they're going to ban that away. Happy that we're seeing Melio bans for all of you out there that are still a little bit tentative on if those nerfs did anything. They didn't. This champ is still bonkers. Please pick it in solo queue if you have the time to play an enchanter in the support role. And we get to see some more customary red side bans. I think this Rel and the Maokai rising in that priority. Certainly add up to me. First pick Ashe, though, for Nord, and I think this matches nicely with what they did yesterday.
I get handed tea by my brother as I'm about to spill it, because Hido was an absolute monster on this yesterday. Went 15, 1, and 10 into a comp that had all the tools to make his life unplayable, and he still went absolutely god mode on it. And you got to see, do Ruddy have an answer? Because clearly they will have seen what happened yesterday. It's not a lot of time to practice, but they're going to draft a couple things that could potentially deal with that. Ezreal, very slippery. Even if you do get with the arrow, you can arcane shift away, you can throw out some poke and try and match that. Sejuani in for Zapdos is not the Nunu that really didn't work yesterday, for all that he is famous for it. My decision need to see what he's going to look at. Something like the Rel again, maybe. Something with a little bit of spice and engage. It's certainly been something that has made Nord look a lot more cohesive in the mid game, and some of those easy go buttons, especially in a big game like this, I would much prefer to see, and a Rakan would do just that.
Yeah, obviously options of Nautilus now as a response, Leona maybe for Pui, and I think that the deny away from Pui's Rakan is something that you always have to mention. That Nord here going to take away one of the more comfortable picks for Pui, his most played throughout this split so far. But I don't think that Ashe is without the ability to counter, even though yesterday we saw a lot of tools that could do it. I think that Ashe still a very weak, very immobile AD carry, rather. Not weak, need to be careful on that. Her first item spike comes through and hits like a truck. It depends on which one we end up seeing Hido go for. If it's anything like yesterday, could be quite devastating when we see that first item come through. But before then, definitely punishable.
Let me step in on this one then, because Tristana is something that is basically permaban or permapick in the LPL right now. People are wrecking house with it. It's a very different vibe to how it's played in the West, where people's understanding of wave state, people's synergy, particularly between mid, jungle, and support, isn't quite there, because Tristana wants to shove, add infinitum, get free time with towers, get the ability to jump forward and really aggressively trade. If you are not paired up with your jungler, if you're not paired up with wave states, it looks a lot less good. I know Azael has his issues with how it works in LCS in particular. On paper, this can be very scary for Oman. You've certainly got the pick tools with the Ashe and the Rakan to make sure you can split push and have a safe roaming kind of pick pairing in the mid lane as well. Answer though from Envy, mid lane, Sylas, pick.
Yeah, and this just feels like quintessential Envy carry. We were talking about him a little bit in the green room before he went live. Loves his melee carries, and it's also a great pairing up with the Sejuani for Zapdos. Obviously, double melee means it's a lot easier to get that Sejuani permafrost passive down. And considering that you've already drafted an Ezreal in the bottom lane, you're likely not playing towards that side of the map anyway.
No, and I want to mention quickly that this Sylas pick is the traditional anti-counter pick to Tristana. Tristana had been picked into Sylas numerous times because of its popular matchup, so I do think that NB carry really giving himself a difficult time. Of course, more than happy to see how he plays it out. Definitely a chance at about that level 3 marker between when Sylas has a really high level spike, I guess, more than anything, for him to try and take some trades. But second round of bans to come through. Get to see away a lot of top lane bans from Nord. You want to get rid of that Malphite because you've got double AD carries. The Ornn as well, just preventing good engage tools for Shihab.
Yeah, and I think on that note as well, locking in the Leona to go with the Sejuani, to go with the Sylas, your ability to brawl right now with this comp is strong. And for all the individual matchup for the Sylas and versus the Tristana is a bit rough, as Rudy rightly calls out, the fact that you have got a Sejuani to pair up that melee synergy is really, really potent. And I wonder now whether Shihan looks towards something like a Jax, another melee option. It looks like Nord will respond with a Poppy, though, to try and keep safe some of these slightly squishier members from the big brawling combo that Ruddy have got together.
Yeah, and this could be going towards Indecision as an aggressive jungle pick. Could go up towards Catchos in the top lane, who has fallen back onto a few of these more denial teamfight picks. Nord aren't really a team that plays towards their top laner too much, but when he turns up to a teamfight, he's always going to be able to provide value. Some of those slicing maelstroms last game were crucial in ensuring that Hito only died once.
Yeah, it's the protection composition, right? You can see there's a buster shot, there's a poppycopter to knock people away. We've got a cannon creating a big AoE zone that people can't enter. Makes a lot of sense that they're trying to protect Hito, protect Oman as well. These double marksmen in the late game going to be quite powerful, particularly with a nice amount of magic damage coming from that cannon. But Shihan has laid down a little bit of a gauntlet here and said that Darius into Kennen is a favourable matchup for him and wants to take it.
I'm not sure that's entirely true, because your wasting on top of the cannon aren't fantastic. The only thing I will say is cannon wave clear involves in going into the wave, putting all the lightning sparks on it, and then coming back out again. That puts you at risk of Darius pulling you in. But generally speaking, you don't have the same gap closer that, say, a Jax does consistently, where you can potentially jump on a cannon at points, even if it is still a bit rough. And often it has been the Jax with the Sejuani as an option at the higher levels of play around the world. Still, though, it's a bit of spice. It's another brawl option. It pairs up well with the Sejuani. I think my eyes do have to turn to Zapdo to make sure that the synergy that they have with the laners can come out, because otherwise I'm looking at a lot of priority for Nord in their lanes, particularly in those solo lanes, and that could get really scary if Nord are allowed to shove without any response.
I think it gets very scary if Nord are allowed to scale. Right, because Ruddy will run into access issues as it gets later. Yes, you've got Engage that can come out from the Leona, from the Sejuani, but a lot of that is going to be single target, and if you aren't able to lock down that single target, then the kiting potential that Nord have on their side is absolutely ridiculous.
I just always hate playing Darius versus champions, specifically like Ashe, where you've got to go through volley plus auto attacks that slow you. I think Shihan, very flash reliant in this game, very ghost reliant hopefully as well on that top side to see if he can get access to that backline, because it's not going to be easy otherwise, trying to walk through, as previously mentioned, a slicing maelstrom, the cannon ulti itself, and then obviously all of the Poppy and Tristana disengage as well. I do think this Darius is going to have a very hard time playing out if it doesn't get a lead in the early game. And when we look at the composition that Ruddy have built up, they've got an Ezreal and a Leona. That is the tried and true I don't care about bot lane duo, where you leave Ezreal on his own, you send Leona to a different lane.
And then, in fairness, if you have Sejuani plus Leona, and then you've got the melee solo laners as well to really proc in with that Sejuani passive, your ability to turn up to a solo lane, turn up to a skirmish, and just CC someone into Doom is pretty damn high. But you do need to make that happen. And that's partly why I'm saying, look, my eyes are on Zapdo, because where he is on the map is where Ruddy want to be on the map. And we've also seen when Ruddy fall behind on the map, what happens.
Yeah, well, and yesterday, he was incredibly active in the early game on the Nunu, but crucially, that activity wasn't able to actually translate into kills, and Ruddy did end up going down in this game. So I think it's right that you highlight him, because you do need a lot more of that early proactivity to get you towards those one-item spikes a little bit sooner. For Indecision, though, on the other side, what are we thinking about for his early game plan on the Poppy here?
Oh, I'm expecting just trying to keep his lanes, honestly, happy, because he's going to have Tristana pushing in the mid lane. I think if you want to sit around this Tristana, there's no harm, no foul. We've seen Zapdo do a lot of kooky ganks into the mid lane where it may not be as early on as some mid laners may expect. Indecision's job this game is to buy an early pink ward, put it down on the bot side of the river, and say to his mid laner, you do it on the top side, and then we win.
I feel like the word kooky is going to be the next Sainsbury's car park rap. You hit it up. Come on. Regan, Jake, I know you're listening. Make it happen. If it's not in there, I'm going to be very upset. I think
did you see the post advertising today's match of the day, which is
I didn't
this
see it.
game is match of the day, a slobber knocker.
I didn't see that. So I thought it was from Ruddy. I thought Ruddy had put something out, which of course it probably.
Well, I mean that's a fairly Ruddy word, slobber knocker.
It is slobber knocker.
It's
cold.
Apparently means an exciting match. Which
it means a slobber knocker.
You don't know
that.
Slobber knocker is just a weird combination of words. I wasn't too sure what was going on, but
well, I can't say that, because I feel like if you get those words up, it gets a bit more concerning,
Foxy and Veteran did manage to paint the airwaves blue yesterday, so hopefully we're going to manage to avoid that this time around, as we are heading on to the Rift for our first game of the day, our match of the day, and MV Carry dashing away to prevent himself getting jumped onto by the Nord squad.
I'm just putting out. You saw that little alien emote. This is a throwback to NLC from last year. Do you know what it was called by some of the NLC crew last year?
Why don't you teach us NLC lore?
It was called Schliegums. Schliegem, I believe so. If I'm remembering correctly, because it was of course something that Alex was teaching me, as it was something that some of the junglers were using. And I'm gonna have to remember exactly who it was, because I was going to teach you and I forgot what I was going to teach you, which is not a great start. Well done,
Okay.
me.
You've turned up
I will ask
over
you
to the
later
lesson.
on.
It's gone really wrong within a minute and 10 seconds, which is not a great start.
Sam has picked up the lesson plan, written the title, and then gone, job done.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Exactly that. Oh.
15 minutes at work, 2-hour
That's right.
break.
Porp on Singularity. Porp on Singularity. That's who it was last year. Figured it
And
out.
what was the purpose of Schliegem?
I mean, it's Schliegem. It's just a really good emote. What do you want? What do you want from me?
Oh,
Just give it to-
okay. No, that's
like,
fine.
Well, why
If
do
it
you
was,
put an
if its
IPP
purpose
emote
was to
out?
be a good emote, that's
Yeah.
fine. That's all I needed.
When would you pop that emote yourself, Rudy? Just think about it, and
So-
you've got the answer.
This is poor law, but I don't use the emote wheel at all.
Right, middle
So-
course to duocast. We're getting rid of Rudy.
I'm not going to lie, initialize. It's going to be you on your own, because I've also never used the emote wheel.
I unbound it the second it came into the game. Like, it took up one of my keys that I regularly use, and I went, nope, unbinding, thank you.
Interesting pathing we're actually seeing here from Indecision. Did start on his walls and is going to be spotted out clearing that blue. Pui hitting the level 2. Toaster Arcane shifting in. Seneca getting ignited, and as the Mystic shots are stacking up. Toaster's going to need to be very careful as Hido turning it around. Still only level 1, but this is what the Ashe can do. Overstep and she will punish you.
Yeah, one of those champs where with the Cosmic, or not Cosmic Insight, excuse me, the Inspiration Tree, Approach Velocity key rune, most broken champion to pick that that rune up with, you can just pick up every single auto attack, you just get movement speed chasing them down. It's like you have a half-bound axe for free.
It's so busted. Champions like Ashe, champions like Senna do abuse that really heavily. At least the Ezreal was running for the longsword, so did have a couple more pots to burn through. But of course, when you are trading health bar on your support versus health bar on your AD carry, you have less pots to work with as mid lane.
What a great jump.
Very well timed from Omen. Zapdo investing the flash. I mean, that's what we wanted to see from the man from Ruddy, right? Get active on the map in the early game, but once again, at least for the time being, not working out.
And you do get to see a little bit there of that level 3 through 5 Silas spike that I was alluding to in the draft, where he's actually able to take some decent trades versus Oman. You also saw that Oman himself has taken the bone plating, recognizing this window for Silas to try and trade back. Now you're on a ward here, Zapdo.
Yeah.
Catch cost quite happy to recognize that and maybe sit a little bit further back, but the wave is not in a good spot for him for the time being.
Okay. What does the... Oh, dear, I'll take this back, because Indecision's here to make Ruddy feel awful.
I mean, Toaster is going to be able to arcane shift away. Does the flash and the heal. This is a big dive from Nord and Ruddy.
Oh, they're in trouble.
We're going to respond to it with a TP. Envy carry level 3. Pui taking a fair bit of damage from those shots, and Toaster healing as Indecision stepped too far forward.
No!
And Pui will take him out for first blood.
Indecision by
baited.
name! Indecision by nature! You don't just get to go... The play was over! Just leave! Don't go back!
I think he got baited a little bit by the volley that takes Toaster to sub 100. Toaster then, quite rightly, uses one of his summoner spells, heals back up, but by that point we've already seen Indecision commit just a bit too far forward, and that's a really big loss for the Nord jungler. If we take a look at just the CS numbers on our junglers at the minute, Zapdo has effectively done a full clear with all 6 camps, where Indecision spent a lot of time trying to make that bot dive work, with 4.5 minutes into this first game, and weirdly enough, both junglers haven't taken their red buff, but one jungler is much further ahead than the other.
Well, that's because, Nord are a blue team with their logo, and Ruddy are a red colour team, so they're just taking the red buff a little later, and they're not living up to their colour sake, and I think that gives Nord the advantage, and that's great analysis.
Okay, so we're ignoring the jungle level disparity
that's
for
what I thought.
favour of colour.
Yeah, exactly.
Literal colour casting is
Yeah.
what you've done right there.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Look, it's just magic colour wheel theory. Come on.
Go on then. I agree with you. That's how it works.
Don't agree with me. That's what you should disagree
red.
with.
I'm trying to work out where they actually are. They're not complimentary or anything like
They
that.
are.
They're quite opposing. They're not
quite
red.
good.
They're
No,
not
blue red
complementary
is a
colours.
huge deck. That's like, is it spell slinging decks?
Oh, you're talking about Magic the Gathering now,
I am,
Sam.
Yeah. I was. That was where I was going with that.
Absolute rascal.
I was talking about primary school teaching, so that was where I was going with the colour wheel.
Oh, well,
dear.
this is what happens when you've got 2 play-by-plays on the cast. We go back to primary school in terms of the level of learning that's going on. Catchtoss has been having his way with Shihan a little bit in terms of the laning phase here. It's to be expected with the cannon up against the Darius, and if Indecision is able to make a dive work here, it's going to be real bad for the Ruddy top laner. Slicing Maelstrom to start it off into the slam against the wall,
Lovely.
and Catchcos gets the kill and gets out with his life.
Really well executed there. You could see Nord had this little bit of time where they were like, actually, who needs to take aggro here? And Catchcos recognizes, okay, it's probably me, because if he ever gets in range of the apprehend, Shihan almost definitely trades a kill back. Really well executed dive on that top side, and Catchcos saving his mobility spells to get out of the turret range as opposed to closing the gap in the first place.
I mean, yeah, to double down on that, you saw basically Shihan's held onto the flash, which is fair enough, but did not get to use the decimate, didn't get to use the apprehend, really. And actually just CC chained after the range discrepancy is kind of abused there, and really well managed. Of course, won't have the teleport, but fortunately hasn't lost too much in the way of the wave, so it's still, like, not absolutely out of this game, but it's not a great start for the Darius in a game that was always going to be a little tricky to navigate anyway.
And it does come at a cost, right? We saw Indecision dive that top side. Zapdo walks in, takes the dragon. There's a 1-for-1 in terms of things that have been claimed for either side. And it starts Ruddy with that soul win condition just a little bit sooner than Nord maybe would have liked. But it does once again hammer home this advantage in the top side of the map. Catchcos was having a good time of things before Shihan made his way, or before Indecision made his way up there. Getting a kill on a TP-less top laner just compounds that issue.
And then when you consider what the rest of the map is doing for Nord, Omen is getting the shove in mid lane as we expected. Hito has also been able to generate a pretty significant advantage for himself in the bottom lane. Would be even more if it wasn't for that earlier blunder on the dive. So Nord kind of looking good all across the map at the moment.
This doesn't feel particularly like relative to or representative of a Ruddy comp. We're 8 minutes into a game almost, and there's only been one kill for them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The only thing I will say is this comp really comes online at level 6, which has just come through. But now you've got the Glacial Prison. MV can steal all the ultimates around when there's some great ultimates to steal in this game. You've got the Noxian Guillotine for Shihan. And now you've got a little bit more kill threat to work with. So I imagine things like the second dragon, things like Herald much more doable. And now Catchcos without the flash, while Shihan still has his, and Ghost will be up a lot sooner than the flash. You can potentially look to abuse that as the Darius with a little bit of help from someone like Zapdo and Pui, who is up here right now.
Catchcos has been a stable top laner for Nord this entire season. Even in their losses, never really feels like the issue for Nord. I do want to point out that Ruddy trying to contest this Herald.
Level 6s.
As Sam mentioned, they've got those level 6s. They've got a really good chance to fight here. Sejuani, Leona, a very powerful 2v2 for layering stuns. But there's no pushing the top side. It's meaning this is a difficult access point for Ruddy without Shihan there. Looks like both teams are going to get the Herald to reset, and we're going to get round 2 probably quite soon.
Yeah, and that is interesting because Pui is only level 5 when you compare it to Seneca's level 6. So if the Ruddy man is able to get his ultimate fairly soon, then maybe they're going to have a better time contesting cross-map. Ash arrow onto Zapdo, but the Sejuani, not really the target that you need to be locking down with the ultimate. Seneca still on the flank, Ruddy committing to this a little bit more as the Keeper's Verge is going to come through, and Indecision flashing forward onto Zapdo. Stolen Slicing Maelstrom as they're layered over the top each other like a Venn diagram, but it is looking much, much better for Ruddy. Omen jumping in, gets one, but he's going to get sliced down as well. No, flashes over the wall and escapes, but MV Carry will follow him, not to the ends of the earth. 2-for-1 in favor of Ruddy.
Oh man, that overlap in the Venn diagram. You know what's in the middle? A slobber knocker. We finally get a bit of a skirmish. Really get more. That was nicely aggressive. But either way, they find themselves with a huge few kills. They find themselves now with the Herald as well as bot lane. Hito and Toaster.
That is the difference between summon a heal and summon a cleanse. Cleanse does nothing for you versus an Ashe. Or versus an Ezreal, rather, and the heal obviously very impactful there for Toaster. No Enchanted Crystal Arrow because Hito fired it up to that top side earlier on, and the Ezreal with that Sheen Power Spike hitting just that bit harder means that he's able to come away with the 1v1.
And how the game swings. It was Nord looking great in all the lanes, but as soon as Ruddy went for that play, things start to go better for them all across the map, and they've evened up the gold disparity a little bit. They've also got that Drake in that back pocket with another one spawning in a minute as MV Carry going for another aggressive trade on the Sylas.
This is not the time to go for these aggressive trades. It's Kraken Slayer versus Components. Omen has free reign of mid lane right now.
That's exactly fair. And in fairness, you know, we said, oh, this is a quiet game. Ruddy have only got one kill. Well, this doesn't feel like a Ruddy game. The moment we say that, madness occurs. But even then, we're still seeing what Rudy called out in draft, which is basically, look, Tristana, outside of an all-in from the Silas, which you can disengage from with your jump, with your rocket, with your buster shot, is in a pretty commanding point in this in the mid lane. At least you've got the Herald to work with, and with dragon spawning in 30 seconds, you imagine Ruddy will be looking for that second dragon themselves.
Going to be difficult, though, with MV Carry on a reset at the time being, so Nord will have the momentary numbers advantage toward the bottom side of the rift, and I do have the lion's share of the vision in the river. Hido, a lot less accelerated on the Ashe this time around, but that's one of the beauties of the pick. You're always going to be able to provide that utility no matter how fed you are, and when the rest of your buddies come to play, locking down the enemy is a pretty good way to set up kills. Pui knocked into the skies. He's going to respond with a solo flare, but Hido not able to follow up with damage. Finally, invest the enchanted crystal out to disengage from Zapto, as he's also joined the fray. Shehan rotating down on the Darius. The tower still there. 4 members of Nord. This is going to be a difficult dive.
Hatchcross still has TP, though. He can make this come down if he needs to. He's also getting a lot of free time. If Nord can get away, it's a free turret for them in the top side of the rift. And Ruddy, they disengage from the fight down on that bot side. Hido with a poor flash, doesn't manage to follow up there. He's trying to flash to dodge the solar flare, but mispositions himself in doing so we can't chase down that kill. And overall, Ruddy, they find an advantage on the bot side for losing out in the top lane.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a heavy trade because Shehan just sacks that entire top lane. We just said, like, Kashko is going to get this turret. At least with the Herald, they should be able to trade turret. But that's still a rough trade to make, and you can see that CS discrepancy is only getting larger, and they don't even manage to trade the turret. There's still a full plate remaining there, and I don't think it's going to be that easy to get through the Ashe wave clear until they pull off another one of those. At least they get the dragon on top. Yeah. But that is a big consolation prize that Nord take.
And it's a really different paradigm now for Nord compared with their game yesterday. Kashkos didn't get a gank that entire game on the Kennen, but this time he's so much more accelerated. Got that massive CS lead up on Shehan like we're referring to. Got that first tower gold as well pre-40 minutes. Loads of plates invested into this Kennen. So he's going to be able to dominate on the side lane, but also when he comes into those team fights close to level 11 with the slicing maelstrom, he's going to be absolutely lethal. Toaster flashing away. They're going to use the ultimate as well. Gets out of the situation.
Close. Needed to burn that flash. That was nearly a very good engage from Seneca. It doesn't quite work out, and I will also point out that is a static shiv on the Kennen as well. Not the standard itemization we've grown used to on Kennens over the years, but you can see the concept, a little bit more wave clear, a little bit safer wave clear to allow a bit more of a shove against a Darius who you really want to be nowhere near as best as you can, so being able to clear that wave a little bit more safely from range, especially when Kennen does like to weave those auto attacks in, and so can abuse that static shiv proc on your autos. It does make some sense.
It does mean that with the static shiv, right, it's a bit of a dichotomy where Kachkos wants to be laning versus Shehan, but still wants to be as far away from him as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
In the same sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's got such an advantage over this Darius right now. 40 CS, the entire first brick going his way. If we could get to toggle the gold, right, you'll be able to tell just how monumentally far ahead Kachkos is. There's a 1.2k gold lead for Nord. I dare say that the gold lead between the two top laners is way more than that. Yeah, it's 2.5k there. So there's a decided advantage for the top laner of Nord.
Oh, flash engaged that, though, able to get over the wall, but it's a catch on to Envy Carry on the back line. Biero was aiming for something different, and Omen is able to get one. Zapto not going to be able to escape for the moment on the Sejuani. Solar Flare from Pui to try and save his jungler, but he's not going to be successful. And Nord get 2 unanswered kills. Kachkos teleporting back to the top lane to stop the shove from Shehan.
Yes, I'm experiencing it too.
Yes, I know. I'm gonna go anyway and pretend I know what's happening on screen, because right now I'm witnessing the beautiful of grey screen. This is just, Death Simulator, so my normal Summoner's Rift experience. But like, effectively what we're seeing is Nord have got a really nasty teamfight comp, especially if Kennen can find a flank. And Ruddy skirmish well. Team fighting is doable, but it's a little bit more reliant on tracking the flanks. This time, where Shehan's roam bot lane didn't really work out, they kind of got some plates on bot lane, but that roam cost a lot. This time, Shehan just gets to turn up. No, sorry, Shehan. Kashkos gets to turn up on the Kennen, murder a couple people, turn up top lane, catch the wave, and feel really happy about it. And that gold lead, yeah, it's only 1,000, but it is feeling pretty nice for Nord right now. Although it does look like in the aftermath.
In the aftermath, it looks like Ruddy have managed to find some sort of collapse back. Indecision and Hido both going down, and it looks like, well, Nord have already failed where they succeeded so well yesterday. 2 deaths on the Xayah.
Is this what the grey screen does? It summons death onto another
Kindred's
team.
on
We're
the
gonna,
rift.
we're gonna
This
come
is like
back into the game.
metaphysical
We're gonna metaphysical Kindred. I feel like the entire concept of Kindred is fairly metaphysical at the moment.
Exactly that. But like, obviously, you know, there is that kind of anthropomorphization of death in the form of the lamb and the wolf, and you've got the spirit blossom version. This
I
is
feel like
a
that is
significantly
the
grander
antithesis
scale.
of
The grey screen.
That's the antithesis of anthropomorphization.
But yeah, this is exactly, it's the opposite side of that, because you've got to
You're
understand
taking
that
death. Like, you can't anthropomorphize death into a wolf. That's not how anthropomorphization
works. But it
works.
can be anthropomorphized into, well, but it can be into like an anthropomorphized
Oh
like
my Brew,
lamb.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
Anthropomorphization.
sorry. Do you want to just go for a couple minutes? I feel like we're not.
If you guys are going to keep talking about too many A words, then you know what? Carry on.
This is fine. Cause like,
yeah, this is what happens when you roll into the NLC podcast and you put two decidedly high vocab play-by-plays in a cat one order.
We haven't done the Scooby Doo voice yet, Roo.
Oh jeez, middle cart.
Oh jeez, I've just been hit by an enchanted crystal arrow from across the map. Scoob, I'm gonna die. Scoob.
Oh no, it's not even 20 minutes in. This is a bad sign.
We've got 3 more games of this, folks.
Woo! Oh, that's actually a fairly important pick. That's a really nice Ash arrow.
Yeah. Cashos might die for it though. Backing away, not investing all of his time into taking down that tower. Teleport is actually gonna come through from Nordenea, responding to the attempt at the plate in the bottom lane. Omen very fed on this Tristana alongside his top laner, but the CC comes through and Toaster claims his 3rd kill of the game. Zato gonna be knocked back, but it's another shutdown for the Ezreal.
Okay, so traded in the mid lane though. Tier 1 turret does fall. Ruddy here managed to find themselves another couple of kills, so getting themselves gold in their back pockets for favour of map advantage for Nord. All of the outer turrets outside of that bot lane tier 1 have now gone down. It means access to that top side of the map, making sure that they can secure vision around Baron later on is going to be very easy.
And outside of the madness and silliness, like actually, we are now at a very even game state in a lot of ways. And you can sort of see that Nord, in these smaller scale skirmishes, aren't as devastating as when they are in the full phalanx, when they have the flanks, because when Sejuani just gets to sit there and proc her passive, you've still got a lot of squishy members for Nord, particularly in those solo lanes. And this Ezreal's 4-0-2 has got Trinity Force. Is not miles off of Manamune. Toaster can absolutely fry the opposition here. All puns intended.
I think that's the key thing. Any concerns about range that you've got for Ruddy are answered by this Ezreal. 51 more stacks until that transforms into the mirror mana. Ruddy with a potential soul point if they're able to take down this Hextech Drake. Nord summoning the Herald in the mid lane, so that's going to get some priority. That may even take down that mid lane tower, but they lose the fight around this Drake. They're going to feel worse for it. Big engage coming through the cave of Zerg. It knocks away to Zapto, getting a double at the engagement, and Hido untouched, firing out damage, but he doesn't have enough. Ruddy just keep diving on top of Nord, claim more kills for Toaster, take the Drake as well.
How different is this from yesterday? Zapto is landing so much more. It's having so much more of an impact. And Hido cannot survive on the Ashe. This is not a 15-1-10 Ashe. This is a 0-3-2 Ashe going into an Ezreal that is quickly becoming unmatchable.
Important to note, right, that entire fight, Hido doesn't have Cleanse. It's such a powerful summoner spell when trying to disengage Leona, disengage Sejuani. Without that, there's nothing really Hido can do. Flash out of one of them, you get hit by the next one. There's just too much long-range CC for Ruddy, and if there's nobody blocking, if Indecision's not in the way, if Seneca's not there with the Mikhail's ready to go, it does just make the life of this Ashe way too hard.
Little bit of a freeze. It's not actually sure whether this back happened safely. Does look like
alive.
It came on through, so good news. We were left there with a bit of a cliffhanger. We might run into Indecision here, and oh boy, the Poppy is about to have a fun time there. Just get to walk away as a Shield of Daybreak just stuns him in place. But what I was about to say is there's something to be said for the fact that actually, you know, you have also got the problem of Envy has got how many good ultimates to steal this game? Like, everybody on the side of Nord is a great ultimate for Sylas, especially with some AP behind it. Like, what? Slicing Maelstrom, and the Keeper's Verdict, and the Buster Shot, and the
Can we just
Arrow.
list all of them? Like,
They're all so good, but also, like, things like the Asher already has an AP scaling. Like, it's pretty damn heavy. If Sylas gets a couple items and gets to continue to get involved, the lane matchup isn't going to matter when you've got a really good pairing with the Leona, with the Darius, with the Sejuani, with all those ultimates to steal.
I, for one, am really looking forward to full AP Silas stealing Poppycopter and reminiscing about AP Alistair, where you would W somebody who's on like 400 HP and they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to get knocked away, and then they die instantly. That's what the vibe is for the Poppy.
Do you remember Emperor Palpatine when he used to build static shiv and just used to throw lightning hands all the time?
Emperor...
Do you not know Emperor Palpatine? Oh, that's classic League of Legends lore right there.
I heckin' love Star Trek.
Rudy, you're testing me this game. You really are.
SG1 was probably my favourite series, not going to lie. It pains me to say that because I absolutely love Star Trek. But looks like Ruddy may have taken down the mid lane tower. We're not entirely sure at this point. It'd be nice for them if they did, because they have managed to put themselves into a very, very decent spot in this game. But we don't know whether that's improving.
It is worth saying that we are also experiencing these technical difficulties, so we do apologise. And any time that we end up going off on slight tangents, it's probably because our game is frozen as well. So we're doing what we can on production side. I know that production is also doing what they can, so just bear with us. We are going to try our absolute best to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. But for the time being, we will be your entertainers, if nothing else.
We're trying our very best. I think we'll avoid the Scooby-Doo voices for at least another 10 minutes. We've got a little bit of time before we devolve back then to using more than 2% of our power. But like, I'll also say credit to Ruddy for throwing enough punches in the early game to prevent the potential turret siege monstrosity that Nord could have become. And for making sure that, yes, the Kennen was scary, but is still manageable. They've managed to pick him off in some of those side lanes and throw some more of those punches. They're also at Soul Point very early on into this game, and there are no dragons back on the other side. They got an early Herald as well, and they have played the objective game pretty cleanly, and now they're in a position where, yes, some of the laning phases weren't as clean as they would like. Yes, there's still some issues with some of the later game teamfight scenarios. It's still a pretty damn good position for them, and they are armed and dangerous enough, particularly Toaster, who's just quiet, not so quietly really, come up to a really heavy point of power. I feel like Nord need to make this next dragon fight work, or it's lights out.
Yeah, because Ruddy have executed on their style, right? It's been relentless. Yes, we said the early game state was a little bit quieter, but it felt like as soon as they've got to this point where they can actually teamfight and they can actually skirmish with multiple members on the same screen, it's looked very damn good. But I don't know. The Nord's like plot armor of going 2-0 into 0-2 every single week, it seems pretty powerful. So I guess, Rudude, I kind of want to throw this ball your way if you want to catch it. What do they want to be doing out through the remainder of this game to ensure they can actually get a 2-0 on the board?
We're looking for flanking wards and we're looking for cannon fight. Because whenever you've got a cannon, any team fight can go your way. It's a matter of execution and how easy it is to send said cannon into the backline. Deep TP wards, cannon take sweep and make sure that he's not on vision for any of the mid-game skirmishes, late-game skirmishes that we're going to end up seeing. And make sure that you can find that backline. We saw Toaster largely untouched in the final fight that we had. And I think that if that remains to be the case, your Ezreal, who will now have Mirror Mana working toward that third item, is going to be able to tear through you. So if he's free hitting, it's a dangerous situation. But you've got good dive. You have good tools to get into that backline. Make them work.
With that in mind, I do have to call out Nord for not doing their due diligence in this mid-game. They have not pulled off a 1-3-1 very cleanly. They've not pulled off the pressure they could have had with a static Shiv Kennen and a Tristana with lane prio into melee matchups. There should have been a pretty easy turret destruction, particularly of those outer turrets. That hasn't happened. They have not been warding and setting up for those shoves particularly cleanly. And Ruddy have really punished very, very well. They've collapsed with Pui, with the Sejuani, with whatever solo laner they've got available. I think particularly that teleport down to the bot lane where you gave up both solo laners kind of for free was pretty egregious. Add in the fact that Toast has actually played out this game pretty well and picked up a few of those kills. And Nord have kind of put themselves into a hole partly of their own making for all that Ruddy have taken the opportunities given to them. I do think Nord just need to be a bit cleaner about setting up some of those shoves.
I do want to go back to something that Middlecott said, right, where as soon as Ruddy have realised where their spikes are, that they've started taking fights around them. This feels like a development and this feels like a benefit, right? Not so much a point of Ruddy not playing to this style of them always looking for fights, but them now evolving that into, always looking for fights when they should be, which is a decided markup and a decided growth in this roster, where previously we can definitely say they've taken fights where they shouldn't have done. They played that slightly slower first 5-10 minutes of the game, got to their level 6 markers, got to that power spike, and then started taking the fights as well.
And there's nothing wrong with having a style, with having a theme, with having a way to play. And Ruddy are really good at skirmishing, about playing around good synergies for those brawling, where you have got fun things like this Silas and this Yasuo in the copy in the back pocket, because I finally picked the right word, for the mid lane, where you've got things like the Darius in the top lane. That's great, but you also need to enable that, right? With the way you're playing, with the way you're drafting, it does feel a little bit more coherent this time. I think, gents, I'd also potentially like to point out there's half a league here who are rubbing their hands at the current game state, because Domino, 4-4 Veneer, and Unique are going, excellent.
Yep.
Norda losing, 4th point in playoffs up for grabs. We like this.
I mean, it's... we had it yesterday. The games all seem to end up in results that made the last few match days of the week as exciting as possible, and that would be the case here again. And obviously, it would give Ruddy a little bit of that cushion to break away from the pack that has been chasing them, that has been putting the pressure on them throughout the course of the split.
It doesn't secure them playoffs a win here, but it makes it damn difficult to get knocked out, I think, is the way that we've worked it out. Pending other results, there's a small chance that they lock it to date. It's not likely to happen, but it is very much unlikely that they get knocked out from here on in. They rely on a lot of other games going a lot of specific ways for them to have a chance at being fallen out of the playoffs if they do lose here. Quick note from our producers as well. We have paused the Observer PC, so with the game is still technically going on, but we aren't going to miss too much of it. Hopefully we'll be able to dive back into largely where we were, so we still get to cover the majority of the action that is left to come in this game. But for the time being, you're stuck with NLC Podcast Mark 3.
We've had a few versions of that.
Well, Middlecot's just the guest. It's always me and you initialise, and now we've just got guest caster initialised.
I see, like, he's come on as a guest. He's trying to show us up with this bandana in about 30,000 different colours. Hold on.
It's
like, well, what did you do, man?
The guest has always got to come with a weird thing. I feel like if I'm the guest, I feel like I should like lean back a little bit further in the chair. I feel like I can relax just that little bit more. Do you want to like ask me some questions about stuff? Like I'm down with that.
So Middlecop, we were having this conversation off air about the value of the name Jackson versus Jack, and obviously your first name is Jack, and that's caused some potential trauma over your life, and I think it's a really good opportunity for you to really delve into your childhood and how that's led to you becoming a League of Legends caster. Go on. Right, well, that's great news. We've done well there. It's got a great chair. I'm actually very jealous of Middlecop's chair.
Bro, do I have to like pay you by the hour for this? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, look, you're not quite in a green therapist chair, but that chair is but I can see that in like a...
You could like lounge, you get like a little notebook, just like, So you crashed the third wave. Why would you say that you did that again? What was the reasoling behind that? All right, he's gone off to grab something now. That's worrying.
There we go.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
No, really nice.
That's leather bound. Yeah,
it is very nice.
Are we notebooking?
Yeah.
Oh, are we comparing notebooks? Right. I don't know where mine is.
Come on, what have you got?
Mine's got a little ring binder. Mine also has my initials on it.
Okay, classic.
I've got like a little. Got like something like this. This is quite cool. I got like a little design on that.
Look.
The reason I've been shamed here is that mine is A5 and not A4.
Mine's A5 too, actually.
Mine is also A5, yeah.
What?
We're all A5 here.
Wait, mine's one below A5 then. I feel like...
A5. Yours is A6?
Yeah.
How do you write anything on that? Like, it's not... Oh,
no.
Okay.
Yeah?
Oh,
Hamster scale?
That's like postcodes only. It's like the only information that you could fit in that notebook.
It's a good address book. I've got a lot of addresses in here to send my letters to.
What, are they all just like the numbers of flats? Like 79, like 62, like 54?
It's just all in codes.
Yeah.
Someone's got to break the Enigma code again to work out what rude dude's written on the notes for League of Legends. Just like... Is this the code?
Sorry, I didn't have time prepared. Could you just send me your notes? Yeah, sure. And here's the cipher as well.
I've got your address in here, so don't worry. Like, I'm ready to go.
It's a competition for what's harder to understand. Your local GP's notes, whatever rude dude has written on League of Legends, just in this car pocket. I was going to say something. Oh, that's right. I had actually got something vaguely important. I had just looked up Ruddy's head-to-head scores, and all of the teams underneath them are at best 1-1 against them. The only people that Ruddy are 0-2 against they've got a 0-2 against Verdant, and they are 0-1 against natives. Everyone else, they're at least 1-1 or 1-0 against. So I think even if someone ties with them, if they win this game, they're guaranteed at the very least a tiebreaker. So it's a pretty big win for them. They are guaranteed at least a tiebreaker with this win. As far as I can tell, unless my eyesight and my reasoning is bad, which is always a possibility.
You wear glasses, you're a play-by-play caster, Initialize. I wouldn't take chances on the eyesight and the brain working perfectly, all right?
They hired me as a color caster, mate. So yeah, you're stuck with me now. This is you get my
I would not say stuck with you at all, right?
Stuck, yeah.
I believe
with.
I believe that because of the issues that we are having, unfortunately, we're going to have to cut this episode of the podcast short. We are going to be going to a break. Hopefully, we're going to be able to get back into the game in no time at all. But we will see you when we next see you. We're back!
Woo!
League of Legends!
Yeah!
It's on our screens, yeah!
It's not
With
Scooby-Doo?
the Baron is invisible. Oh no, the Baron's here, okay. I don't know what was going
No,
on.
it spawns at
Sports are
2040 now. Middle top.
Yeah,
Come on.
340.
You
Yeah,
didn't read the
look,
patch notes?
it's running late today. It got up late. Come on, man. It's like Rudu's alarm clock.
It had a pause as well, but
My
I mean,
alarm is
Ruddy
on time.
committed to it fairly heavily, actually. 4,000 HP, Indecision able to knock one away. Pui, the initial target
That's
of
what
the
it
engage
was.
is going to throw up the shield of Daybreak for a little bit more tankiness. We've got a little bit of a split fight here, but Toaster, he's able to
from
get
Shihan.
kills. Hido being focused
God.
onto Shihan, getting into the back line, and the stoling, slicing Maelstrom slices through the hearts of Nord as Shihan cuts off their heads.
That is brutal. The Darius is not stopped. The Darius gets to come in after all the CC is used, and the Darius just decapitates 3 members. They get the Baron too, and that was after Zapdo misses the ult. After you see the Poppy knock a member away, and Nord still can't come third.
I love Hextech Rifts, I think is my takeaway from that whole play.
Great.
Shihan there is just able to buy himself a flank by nature of the Drake. Absolutely really, incredible play around the environment, making sure that he's able to get on top of the carries at that right time. Credit to Ruddy for being able to stall that fight out for so long as they did, because they were fighting that at theoretically a numbers disadvantage. Shihan did get knocked away, wasn't a part of that for the most part. My question is, where was Catch Cost for all of that? Because he still got Flash and Slicing Maelstrom. Without him being a part of that fight, you got to see Ruddy absolutely walk away with it.
Oh boy.
Oh, Indecision engaging onto 5 members of Ruddy. I'm not sure if this is a smart idea,
Catchcross.
mate. Here comes Catchcross with the slicing
dear.
Maelstrom, but it is
Oh,
fundamentally not enough. Ruddy's wallet's way too full. Nords, well, they're just trying to pick up scraps.
You cannot jump into 5 people on Tristana like that, Oman. I'm sorry, but that is just not allowed. Even if you land the Kennen ult of all Kennen ultis, it's just not okay. Catchcross does his best, but it's not nearly enough. Unfortunately, it means Soul likely to go over to Ruddy as well. Nord trying to play a little bit sneaky there on their entrance to the jungle, and footage does not come through.
Look, I know it's a slip-up, but Kane works just fine because Umbral Trespassers get shot. They got absolutely wrecked in that one. Tristana jumps in, and you don't hop that fence. There is a big electric fence that says, do not trespass. It's a bad idea. And you know why? Because there's an Ezreal arm with a high-powered sniper rifle, namely 3 items at 909, ready to absolutely eviscerate you. And that's without counting the rest of the carries, which are doing just fine themselves. This is Soul, and Nord have so few ways to stop this. It is a last gasp, but I think they're out of air.
Yep, no room to breathe. Indecision going to be cut down. They try for one last gasp, engage, but Ruddy find them with ease, flashing over the wall. Not even sure they care about the Soul. They can start taking structures from inside the base.
I think Nord are going to be losing their souls after it's going to be put into the ground again. It's a 5 for none. It has slipped so far away from their hands. It's Soul. It's 10,000 gold. It's only 23 minutes in. How do you stop any member of Ruddy, it feels, at this point? They've all so difficult to deal with.
It doesn't help that Indecision, their supposed front line, is just not tanky. Like, period, at this point. We've got Even Shroud as an opener, and not even a completed Sunfire Cape at this point. It's super difficult for anybody to try and absorb any damage. Finally. It gets picked up, but, is it going to help at this stage? The notion around tanks and carries is that carries outscale tanks just because of the way the items interact with one another. And when you've got far and away more items on your carries than the enemy tanks do, it just makes this game so very difficult.
How could they? That's it. It's over. That's 75 gold wasted. And considering how slim the gold lead is, I think that's probably doomed.
Yeah, true.
Oh, you didn't have to do him that dirty, Initialize.
I mean, I did. I did, actually. It's like actually contractually obligated as a guest. I have to do someone dirty every game.
Oh, I didn't realize.
I thought it was going to be you, Middle Cop, but I thought I'd leave you out this time.
Well, thank you very much. It is a 10,000 gold lead for Ruddy, and they have just been running the map for the last 5 minutes, and every time Indecision gets caught by a member of Ruddy, his death feels inevitable, to be perfectly honest. Shihan grabs one more for himself. It's the 8th death of the game for the Puppy, and for Ruddy, whilst they haven't broken the base yet, they are in a prime position to do so.
It's bullying at this point. What else do you say? I mean, I just want to look at Toaster as well. He's 10-0-13. He went 15-1-10 yesterday. He's 0-5-3 today on the same champion. What a discrepancy. I think they're just going to keep shoving. Look where Cashco is. He needs to come back now.
Makes it back, but his inhibitor's already gone down. And, you know, I agree with the bullying point. Ruddy hadn't broken open the base because they knew that Nord were going to keep overextending and keep allowing kills to come through. Because at this point in the game, there is no way back for Nord. It is unfortunately just a slow demise, and it is on Ruddy to lose this game. They have a 12,000 gold lead. They've got a hyper-fed Ezreal who's not had any threat on him this entire game. The way Nord win is through Ruddy giving them the game back, and it's not just one team fight going their way, it's multiple.
And worrying for Nord, obviously, because next week they've got to play against Veneer and Domino, two of those teams that are really in the thick of it with them. Stolen it, Ashel. I don't think that's going to get turned into a kill. The slow, actually, from Toaster. He just dumped over the wall. He's going to be fine. But for Nord, you really would have wanted to pick up a win here today, because going up against those guys in the last week of the split is always going to be difficult. There's going to be so much fire in those teams trying to secure that last playoff spot, and you really would have loved to build some distance today.
They're going to smell blood in the water. There's no.
Oh my god, what is this?
Oh my god, that's a moment.
Unsuccessful. Well, potentially not actually. Kaskos staying alive with the lightning maelstrom and MV carry flanking on the side. Nord, they managed to split up Ruddy, but that doesn't look great for them. Only one dropping off the table for now, but Pui gets even more. Took a little bit of time in that fight for Ruddy to find the ace, but they shall find it nonetheless. They'll knock down Nord's base and grab their 7th win of the splits.
You've got to respect it. If there's any way to come back into the game, it's taking out the AD carry. Toaster had to burn heal that time round. It just wasn't enough, and Nord do end up falling.
It's a charge of the Light Brigade, and it just doesn't work out. They are gunned down in the last stand, and it is over.
Nexus going to be dropping it down. Ruddy with the win. Nord under pressure in the final.